One of the key challenges facing NSW is the lack of affordable and social housing for low-income and vulnerable people. According to the latest figures, there are more than 51,000 households on the waiting list for public housing in NSW, and some of them have to wait for up to 10 years to get a place to live. This is unacceptable and unsustainable. That's why NSW Labor has a bold and innovative plan to address the social housing crisis by providing incentives to developers to convert surplus commercial space into social housing units. This plan will make use of the vacant offices and shops that have been left empty due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the shift to remote work. Under this plan, NSW Labor will offer developers a range of financial and regulatory incentives, such as tax breaks, planning concessions, grants and subsidies, to encourage them to transform unused commercial properties into affordable and livable homes for people in need. This will not only create more social housing supply, but also stimulate the construction industry, create jobs and boost the local economy. NSW Labor estimates that this plan will deliver up to 10,000 new social housing units over the next 4 years, which will reduce the waiting list by 20%. This will also complement Labor's existing commitment to build 20,000 new public housing dwellings over the next 5 years using a $10 billion social housing fund. Unlike the Liberal national government, which has failed to invest in social housing and has sold off thousands of public housing properties, NSW Labor believes that everyone deserves a safe and secure home. That's why we have a comprehensive and ambitious plan to tackle the social housing crisis and make NSW a fairer and more inclusive place for all. One of the key challenges facing NSW is the lack of affordable and social housing for people on low incomes. According to the latest data, there are about 50,000 households on the social housing waitlist in NSW, and many more are struggling to pay rent in the private market. Social housing is secure and affordable rental housing for people who need it most, such as those who are homeless, at risk of homelessness, or have special needs. It includes public, community, and Aboriginal housing. To address this crisis, NSW Labor has announced a bold plan to create a new social and affordable housing agency called Homes NSW. This agency would streamline the delivery of social housing services by merging 3 existing government agencies: the Land and Housing Corporation, which owns and develops public housing properties, the Aboriginal Housing Office, which provides housing for Aboriginal people, and the Department of Communities and Justice Housing, which manages tenancies and contracts with community housing providers. By bringing these functions under one roof, Homes NSW would be able to coordinate and accelerate the construction, maintenance, and management of social housing across the state. It would also work with other stakeholders, such as local councils, developers, and community organizations, to increase the supply and diversity of social and affordable housing options. For example, Homes NSW would pilot a new build-to-rent scheme in regional areas facing housing shortages, where surplus public land would be developed into rental properties managed by Homes NSW or community housing providers. Under this scheme, 30% of dwellings would be set aside for affordable or social housing. NSW Labor believes that Homes NSW would be a game-changer for social housing in NSW. It would improve the quality and efficiency of social housing services, reduce red tape and bureaucracy, and ensure that decisions are made, implemented, and evaluated in one place. Most importantly, it would help thousands of people who need a safe and secure place to call home. One of the key policies that NSW Labor has announced for the upcoming election is to abolish stamp duty for first home buyers on purchases up to $800,000 and offer a reduced rate for homes up to $1 million. This policy is aimed at making housing more affordable and accessible for thousands of people who are struggling to enter the property market in NSW. Stamp duty is a tax that buyers have to pay when they purchase a property. It is calculated based on the value of the property and can add tens of thousands of dollars to the cost of buying a home. For example, a buyer who purchases a property worth $800,000 would have to pay $31,490 in stamp duty under the current system. Under the NSW Labor policy, this buyer would pay no stamp duty at all, saving them $31,490. A buyer who purchases a property worth $1 million would pay $24,740 in stamp duty under the current system, but only $10,490 under the NSW labor policy, saving them $14,250. NSW Labor says that this policy would benefit about 95% of first-home buyers in NSW and help them save up to $66,000 on their purchase. The policy would apply to both new and existing homes, unlike the current first-home buyers assistance scheme, which only offers exemptions and concessions for new homes up to $800,000 and vacant land up to $350,000. NSW Labor argues that this policy is better than the Paratech government's land tax reform, which gives buyers the option to pay an annual property tax instead of stamp duty.